Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy Atypical Security Guard. So I put up a post the other day asking how many people working in the security industry are wearing body cameras, and we had a pretty good turnout in terms of responses. I would say that it was almost 50-50 in terms of people who are utilizing body cameras and those who are not utilizing body cameras. I have to say that my thought is that the majority of the people that are utilizing body cameras are not utilizing issued body cameras. It's very, very few and far between that you'll find a lot of security companies that are actually issuing body cameras. Most people, whether you're working in an unarmed capacity or an armed capacity, they're purchasing body cameras like this. You know, you can find these on Amazon. You can go to any of your law enforcement stores, and you can find really, really solid, really, really good body cameras inexpensively. So you're seeing more officers who are wearing these as a part of their kit. And I understand that the thought process, whenever you ask any security guard who is utilizing a body camera, specifically if it's not been issued by their company, why they have it, most people will give you the response that it's to make sure they're protected in case something happens. They want to have a video log of what the situation was. They want to make sure they're able to defend themselves should they ever have to go to court, and all of these things, they seem to make sense, right? But I want to talk to you guys about how a lot of these ideas, in terms of what you're thinking when you're purchasing one of these and you're wearing one of these, how this could actually really get you jammed up in a court of law. Now, for those of you who are wearing body cameras that are being issued, this does not apply. This is specifically for people who are going out on their own, purchasing a body camera and then wearing it on their uniform on their own. So what are some of the big issues? Well, number one, I would say you have to be aware of the consent, right, within your state and within that jurisdiction. Now, depending on what state you're in, some states are a two-party consent and some states are a one-party consent, right? So depending on the state that you're in, the area of town that you're working, and also the establishments. Are you working in a public place? Are you working in a private business? Are you working in a school? Are you working in a government facility, right? All of these things, depending on where you are, play into whether or not you have to inform someone, okay, to actually inform someone that they're being recorded. Excuse me here, got a little bit of that on there. In some states, the simple fact that a person is in public uh, gives you the right to be recording them. In some areas, some states, the fact that the body camera is displayed visibly and that there is a blinking light gives the implied consent that they are to be recorded. But you have to remember that a lot of this comes down to whether we're talking about video recording or audio recording, right? Some areas you have implied consent, some areas you have one person consent, some areas you have dual consent, and that only applies to the video recording. In other areas, it really is a completely different set of circumstances when it comes to audio recording. So if you're not aware of that, if you're not understanding that dynamic, that could be something that could get you guys jammed up. Another issue that I don't think a lot of security guards really think about is the fact that if you're issued a body camera by a department, let's say you're working for a police department or a sheriff's department or in a correctional facility, at the end of the day, you take that camera off, you dock that camera, and all of the information that's on that camera is then uploaded to a server, and it's kept on a hard drive or a file system, so that if it ever needs to be accessed, it's accessed through that department, right? If you personally are utilizing a body camera and you are not storing that information and something comes up, you're going to have an issue with that. Also, depending on where you are storing that information, you might have to turn over all of that software to law enforcement or to a legal entity should you be called into question and have to submit this as evidence. I don't think most people understand. If you're taking this and you're bringing it home and you're docking it on your own personal laptop, your own personal hard drive, if this has to go to court, all of that software, all of that hardware has to be turned over to law enforcement and to the asking agency. Also, the fact that you are potentially docking or keeping this information, you have issues with personal privacy. Depending on the state that you're in, the city that you're in, this jurisdiction that you're in, you're going to have different requirements in terms of the chain of custody of certain information, certain private information, certain information that might be seen while utilizing this. And if you're unaware of that, that again could be another issue. When it comes to docking and it comes to saving and storing that information, if you are dealing with one individual and that one individual situation goes to court, I don't think a lot of people think about this, but if that information is stored and you provide that information, and the question from the prosecuting attorney says, well, where's the information for the other 364 days that this camera was in usage? So now if you have a situation where you have the filming of one instance, let's just say you have a hands-on incident with a Black elderly individual at a grocery store, for instance, right? That was recorded on your body camera. That information was docked, that information was annotated, you saved it, you did everything right per se. The question can then be asked, well, why do you not have information for all of the other interactions that you've had? Were you specifically recording this situation because my client was, insert the issue, right? That can also be flipped the other way. If you have a situation where you go hands-on with that same individual and you don't record that interaction, or your camera is not working, or you didn't save it. However, you have other saved information, you have other incidents that you have on your hard drive that you have on that camera. Then that attorney can ask the same question and say, why didn't you film this one interaction, right? There's so many ways that this can be twisted and turned against you. And if you've never been involved in a deposition with a lawyer that's looking for information to somehow jam you up, guys, let me be the first to tell you that it is not a fun place to be. Also, situations of if you are wearing this body camera and it is not issued by your company, if it is not listed in your post orders for you to have it, if it is not something that you are being authorized to use within your location under the contract, then the question comes up, why do you have it in the first place? Again, you have to think about where this all can go. Should you be in a situation and this is something that comes into play, okay? So for a lot of corporate contracts, people that are utilizing the body cameras as a part of that corporate contract, like anything else, guys, your post orders in terms of how much you can go hands-on, what you can do, if you can make stops, if you can make detainments, all of this is something that is wrangled through and gone over by attorneys for both your company and the contractor that you're going to be working for, right? The client itself. There's a long legal process that goes into thinking about all of the things that we're talking about and whether or not that's going to come into play at that location with you utilizing a body camera. If you're not doing that and you're just wearing one of these on your own, you are taking all the liability of all of the issues and many more that come with wearing a body camera unauthorized. And there's an issue that I didn't even think about. In some of the locations that I work, the corporate locations, they have certain areas of that store and there is an expectation of privacy. So for instance, I'm just going to throw out a number. This is not the exact number, but for instance, one of the locations that I work out, let's just say that it has 500 cameras, right? There are certain areas within that store that there are no cameras for the reason that the employees have a right to expectation of privacy, right? So whether that's a locker room, whether that's a bathroom, whether that's an entry area or an exit area, there are certain places, and I'm assuming that this is something that's worked out between the union and the employer, where the employee has the right to not be recorded. So if you're utilizing a body camera and you're in that area as a provider or as a vendor, and you have a situation where you're having that access to that area, that's just another layer of a problem that you don't need. So I get the idea behind why people want to have body cameras. I think it's a very noble idea. I think that it's a very smart thing in terms of the theory, but you have to play that out in the fact that we are in such a litigious society where people are so quick to call an attorney, to call a lawyer, and to sue individual security guards. It'll be nothing for the company to cut you and to cut their losses and let you defend all of the things that I've said on this video as to why you have that camera. And guys, I don't know if you understand how expensive, how time consuming, and how absolutely stressful that could be for you. So in my opinion, if it's not being issued to you by your company, if it's not in your post orders to use it, if it's not something that your contract specifically lays out, don't use it. Okay? Be great.